Hello, and welcome to our program, Astronomy for Everyone. The topic for this month's program is a company called Starfield Optics. And to tell us all about it is its owner, Steve Mallia. Steve, welcome to our program.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here.
You're very welcome. Now, before we get into talking about your company, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Oh, thank you. Well, as you know, my name's Steve. I reside just outside of Toronto, Canada, in a small town called Bolton. That's where my business is located. I am not only just a business owner, but I'm also an amateur astronomer and an imager. At least I like to tell people I'm an imager. Sometimes if you look at my pictures, some people question it, but I do enjoy being an astrophotographer as well.
Well, great. Hopefully you have some fairly decent skies, even though you're fairly close to Toronto.
No. Well, we usually get a really good sky, good clear sky when there's a full moon. But the winter months, it's usually pretty rough for anything to do with astronomy. In the summertime, it clears up nicely, and the skies here are pretty good.
That's good. So when did you start Starfield Optics?
I started Starfield Optics in 2017, mid 2017, and we started off with a basic reducer and flattener combination. I would love to show you what that looks like.
Please do. We'd like to see some of the products as you talk about them.
Yeah, so you can see here there's our from our website, starfieldoptics.com. Right? We have a whole breadth of product, but we started off really with just standard reducers and flatteners for astrophotography. And in the Canadian market especially, this was oddly kind of one of those items that wasn't easy to find, not without having to purchase it from over the border, where it would just add to a lot of the cost. So we introduced this to the Canadian market originally as a 0.8 reducer. Then we brought in its brother, the 0.6 reducer, and a flattener as well. And we've added from there, not only with reducers, but we started to get into smaller accessories like extensions, and then we got into more in-depth products such as telescopes, and we got into piers, and now we're into a whole range of accessories, including heaters and dew control, astrophotography trackers, guide scopes, and one of my favorite devices being the filter wheel, which we do manufacture here in-house and distribute from there.
Tell us a little bit about that particular product. Now we were talking before off camera, and I found it quite interesting.
So the filter wheel, we didn't do the actual work on the filter wheel. The filter wheel came from another company called Zygle Astro, and I'll show it once again. This filter wheel became quite a famous little filter wheel, starting off with a 5-position wheel, and we do everything for the 8-position, 1.25 and 31 millimeter, 2-inch and 36 millimeter filter wheels. And it's a rather unique filter wheel as it's got a very thin profile of 19 millimeters, and it's just 19 millimeters itself. There's no motor sticking out of it. There's nothing protruding from the case. It's powered directly off of USB, and we've had customers that have taken them and stacked them together. They've written their own drivers for it because we make it open source. All the information is available, but it's a really unique filter wheel where, well, I like to consider it to be the only filter wheel that's made in North America that'll work with anybody's camera. A lot of other manufacturers that make filter wheels that are in North America, their wheels work generally with their cameras. So if you have an older camera that you still want to hold on to and you need a filter wheel for it, these generally can adapt to it, which is a nice feature. So this is a really, really unique piece. And like I said, all the manufacturing is done right here locally within our little town of Bolton. And they get assembled, tested, calibrated, and then sold worldwide. And we are selling them throughout North America, into Europe, and we actually have a lot of them that go right into Asia, which is something I'm particularly proud of.
Interesting, because usually a lot of those products do seem to come out of the Far East, so it's nice to see something made in North America that's going in the opposite direction.
Yes,
Now,
absolutely.
now these
Absolutely.
filter wheels,
Yeah.
what are they made of? How do you make them?
So they're machined aluminum, right? Aircraft grade aluminum. The all the parts are aluminum except for the circuit board itself. The circuit board is assembled. We don't make the circuit board, but it's another Canadian company that makes it for us. And then we assemble everything here. It works off of a Hall effect sensor um, arrangement. So the center position is pretty much always guaranteed. Whenever you tell it to go to a particular position, it will center on that wheel. And we've actually even went and just to play with it to make sure it works. We've went and moved the wheel a little bit left and right, and it will sense that there's a movement in either direction and recenter the wheel and hold it there. So it's almost guaranteed that it'll always be there. The 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 wheel, I'll show it once again. Um, what's interesting, or what's a nice feature about this particular wheel, the 5 position wheel, is that it's a high speed edition, and this wheel moves very very fast from one position to the next. So if you're into planetary imaging, right? If you're imaging Jupiter or Saturn with the high rotation of those planets, right? You don't want to be losing time and wasting time waiting for your filter wheel to change position, right? It's an instantaneous change from one filter position to the next. So if we were to go say from position 2 to position 3, it's about a second to a second and a half change for the filter to go to its full position and done, and you can keep on imaging from there. So it's a nice design. And again, with a low thin profile, adapting it to almost any optical train is simple enough to do. We have all the fittings for them, for a simple nose piece, as you can see in the picture here. To There's a picture of the wheel, to M42 adapters. This is an M42 thread. So we have different ways of attaching various cameras and accessories to the filter wheel on its own. And this goes for all the wheels, the smaller 1.25 wheel all the way up to the 2-inch large format wheels.
It's really interesting, as you mentioned, that it's nice and compact. You don't have the slide piece sticking out either one side or the other. I find that quite interesting and helpful, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's had some nice comments and feedback coming back from customers, so I'm quite happy with how it's been accepted in the marketplace.
Now, you also mentioned telescopes. Do you actually manufacture these telescopes, or how do
The
you go about that?
the manufacturing isn't done in house with the telescopes. We do work with factories overseas to build to our specification. Here's an example of the new Gear 60 that it will be coming out later in May. We are taking orders for them now, so through our dealers and such. But this is a rather unique scope. It's a Petzval design, something that we're really excited about. And this is nice for the upcoming wide field Milky Way season. But we have a whole range of scopes, from the simple wide field 60 millimeter to our flagship Apo, which is a 115 millimeter triplet. And when we've designed our telescopes, when we've worked with our factory to build them, we were very specific on how we wanted these telescopes to look and the features that they offer. All of our Gear series telescopes have features that I think are important for an imager, being an imager myself, right? Stuff that I would be adding onto a telescope after the fact. So what I wanted to do for my customers, for our dealers, for imagers in general is, let's get those components that we all want on these telescopes now, right? So that it's literally out of the box, attach your camera, and maybe with a filter wheel, and start imaging right away. We don't have to then order in a handle. We don't have to order in a camera rotator. We don't have to upgrade our focuser. Our rings are heavy duty. So everything that you would expect in a high quality Apo is what we are striving to make sure that our customers get right out of the box. So here's an example of our 90 millimeter scope, and it has not only the stuff that you would typically get, like a dovetail and rings, but the handle that's on here is a functional handle where we can attach accessories directly to it, either with the threaded holes that are on top, they're an M6 threaded hole, right? Or you can use an Arca Swiss or a Vixen type clamp to attach something directly to the handle. The rotator is fully the rotator rotates, right? The camera angle adjuster, but the focuser is also adjustable in its rotation. If you wanted to change a balance, if maybe you wanted it to sit a certain way so that your overall system is balanced. And the rings are heavy duty, and they actually have, you can't see in this picture, but has the ability to add accessories directly to the rings as well. So, customers that might be using something like an ASI Air, or maybe they have a dew heater or some kind of a power box, right? They want to keep everything compact and accessible here's a picture, accessible to the scope itself. They can now attach them directly to the rings and keep everything nice and attached and in one spot. So they only have one wire that comes up to their telescope, and it gives them better cable management. So these are the kind of things that we felt were really important for an imager, and we wanted to make sure that they had those features out of the box without having to spend any more additional money. And maybe, the way it's been for the past couple of years is trying to get equipment, right? You get the telescope, you have your camera, you don't have the part that puts everything together, right? So that's what we wanted to make sure that out of the box you had that right away.
That makes it very convenient. Like you say, you don't have to go shopping a la carte for everything you need to do your imaging. And I like the idea of the one cable, because I have to tell you, with all the cables with dew heaters and battery control, and yeah, and you're in the dark and you're trying not to trip over any of that, that can be a real challenge.
You don't want a cable snag. You don't want your guiding to be affected. You don't want to be dragging cables. You don't want something to get tangled up on your tripod legs, and next thing you know, you ripped out a cable, and now your night's completely ruined, right?
Exactly.
So now, again, this is what we wanted to do to keep it
simple.
Easy for imagers.
Keep it simple. So what makes Starfield Optics different in your view?
In my view, Starfield Optics we can operate very nimbly, right? So if we need to make a pivot, if we need to, within the marketplace, if we need to make a change to our designs, because all of a sudden, something's not available anymore, or there's an enhancement that we can make very simply, we're not through this massive build cycle that could take 6, 7, 8, 9 months, maybe a year to put through in order to get those changes. We can make those changes right away. We can react to the marketplace quickly enough so that the end user is able to get what they need right away. And that's where we were actually very successful in the past couple of years, with everyone having massive supply chain issues, right? I don't want to say being the small guy necessarily, right? But being a more nimble type of company, we have been able to adjust and operate a little bit differently so that we can get our products to our warehouse or into our customers' hands a lot quicker. And a good example is that one of the telescope lines that we have currently is a Dobsonian telescope line. All right, so we sell 8-inch to 16-inch Dobsonians, primarily in the Canadian market right now, just because big boxes that get expensive to ship, especially over the border. We're working on it. We were able to work with shipping companies and the manufacturer in order to get stuff really quickly. So we were seeing our competition having a hard time getting their products to market, we were already on our second container load of Dobsonians for the Canadian market, and that's what makes Starfield different from a lot of the other companies out there.
It sounds like you've got a really dynamic company going up there, Steve. We're going to take a quick break. If you have a question for our viewers out there, please send us an email. You can see the address there at the bottom of your screen. And coming up next with Term of the Month is Stephen.
Thanks, Don. The term of the month is Dragonfly. Mars has its own helicopter, Ingenuity. As we shoot this episode, it has made 48 flights so far. Saturn's moon Titan is scheduled to get a helicopter of its own, named Dragonfly, to launch in 2027 and arrive in the mid-2030s. While the Mars helicopter is primarily a technology demonstrator, it has taken lots of pictures which are valuable in their own right. Dragonfly will fly in Titan's thick atmosphere and sample the air and image the landscape. It will have a mass spectrometer and be able to analyze the chemistry. Titan is something like the Earth that has been in sort of a deep freeze, potentially showing what Earth might have been like in its early history. It will look for prebiotic chemistry so it can give us clues to the chemical steps that led to the formation of life on Earth. Flights are expected to be farther than a mile. A system called Draco, for a drill for acquisition of complex organics, will collect samples less than a gram and be analyzed inside the aircraft. DRAMS, which is the package, uses the mass spectrometer that has been used on Mars. The landing site is Titan's Shangri-La Dune Field in a crater called Selk. And that is the term of the month, Dragonfly. Back to you, Don.
Thanks, Stephen. And welcome back. We're here with our guest, Steve Mallia, from the company Starfield Optics. Now, Steve, I also understand you have a retail operation there in Bolton?
I do. My retail operation is another company called Ontario Telescope. Ontario Telescope is a dealer of about 40 to 45 different manufacturers that we represent, and we sell primarily in the Canadian marketplace.
Okay. So we got metropolitan Toronto, which is a pretty good sized market that you're adjacent to.
Yep.
And do you do any type of shipping from your retail to other places, say in North America?
Oh yeah, we ship to the U.S. almost daily, at least one or two boxes easily. So into all over North America, into Mexico. We've shipped into South America. Australia seems to be a pretty big market for us. We ship a lot into there for some reason.
I would hate to see their freight expense, but yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I don't question it. Right, the number is there, and the order goes through. But yeah, we'll ship everywhere, and we have a small retail location as well that people can come and visit, and they can pick up their order or pay and buy right there. Right, that's no problem either.
Yeah, you don't see too many brick and mortar astronomy related stores anymore. I know we used to have several here in the Metro Detroit area, and
there was a big one in Toronto. The building is still there, and it's kind of unique because it got heritage status within Toronto because it has a big telescope that was built on top and became a landmark. But the company shut down about 10 years ago, but the building's still there.
Oh, okay. Is the telescope still there too?
It is.
Oh,
yep,
okay.
It is. Yep.
Next time I'm in Toronto, I'll have to look for it.
Yeah, can't miss it.
Now, you mentioned earlier, too, that you are an imager. I mean, we can tell by your product line that it's really geared toward imagers, and that's a very good thing. What are some of your favorite objects that you like to take pictures of?
You know what? I love imaging. Right now, I really like wide field type stuff. So the elephant trunk in wide field, the Cassiopeia region within wide field. That's what I really like. One of my favorite objects, probably to image, is the Andromeda Galaxy. And there's probably some people rolling their eyes, but it's such a unique object because it's so large and you can do so much with it. To me, it never gets bored. But I like to stick to a theme every summer in terms of my imaging. And like this year, I'm going to primarily just do lunar imaging. And
okay.
because on those clear nights, the moon seems to be there.
That's right. Yeah, it's only
So,
clear when the moon is full or near full.
yeah, so you can't beat them, join them,
That's right.
and that's why I like to pick a theme and try to stick within that theme for the summer.
Okay, so you've done the Andromeda Galaxy. Do you stick with like galaxies for a season, or maybe double stars or open clusters?
No. Well, come Milky Way season, I usually stick to DSOs as much as I can. Now we're getting into galaxy season, so I'm getting excited about that. Right, all the stuff that's going to be up nice and high. I think I'm going to probably work on the pinwheel more than anything else this year. It's another galaxy that's always fascinated me. The Leo triplet. I keep saying I'm going to do it, I never do. So I'll probably work on that. But I don't have control as to when. I'm waiting for those clouds to clear. So
we hear you. We feel your pain. With your imaging, what type of processing do you like to use?
I like to use PixInsight mainly, right? And then muddle my way through it. I'm not the greatest at it. I am surprised with the result that I get sometimes. The overall result sometimes will blow me away as to what I get with it. I'm pretty happy with this image of Andromeda that I did with PixInsight, and then I keep tweaking it here and there, and just enjoy what I get in the end. But I image for myself, right? And the end result is for me. I don't do it to enter contests or to show off. I like to try to get something pretty.
And that image of Andromeda, you really got some nice detail there, the dust lanes, and even down into the center of the galaxy itself.
I have to give credit to my oldest son, Lucas, because he actually took the image and gathered the data, and then I processed it out for him on that image. So I can't take all the credit on that one.
Sounds like you've got a budding astro imager there in your household.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
Get them into the business when they're young, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. We argue about it sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has really been an interesting conversation. I've enjoyed being able to sit down and talk with you this evening via Zoom. Thank you, Zoom. It really expands the range of folks that we can have on our program. So, Steve, I really do want to thank you for being a part of the program and telling us all about Starfield Optics and what's available. For our viewers, please visit our club website, Ford Amateur Astronomy Club website. You can see the address down there at the bottom of your screen. And rounding out the show, as usual, with What's Up in the Night Sky, is Stephen.
Thanks, Don. What's up in the night sky for April 2023? We're moving from the equinox toward the solstice, so longer days in the north and shorter in the south. April starts with a moon that is waxing first quarter up to April 6th, the full moon. And yet the moon is down to its last quarter on the 13th and down to nothing, new moon on the 20th. First quarter then starts on the 27th. Now Mercury goes from Pisces to Aries and sets in the evening, later at month start. It is best at the beginning of the month. Now maximum eastern elongation, say that 3 times fast, is April 11th, which is pictured here. Uranus is in Aries and sets later in the month, and is best also at the beginning of the month. Venus moves from Aries to Taurus and gets to be up quite late. It's best at the end of the month. Now, here near Detroit, Venus will be visible after local midnight, which just shouldn't happen, which shows what daylight savings time and the western edge of a time zone can do for you. Mars is in Gemini and sets after midnight. Now, you won't see Jupiter in Pisces because it has superior conjunction also on April 11th. Neptune is also in Pisces, rises just before sunrise to 2 hours before sunrise, and is therefore best at the end of the month. Saturn is in Aquarius and rises an hour earlier, so from an hour to 3 hours earlier before sunset, and is best at the end of the month. And that is what's up in the night sky for April 2023. Now, you will recall that we don't charge money for this show, but we may tax your brain.